when Uncle Bob walks through the door and he's like, let's talk about that presidential debate from 2 years ago. I'm still and you're just like, he's going to scorch the earth. So thankfully, we're going to invite Tom Golightly, a psychologist at BYU, a friend of the show as well, to give us some tips on how to deal with Uncle Bob.
Okay, I might be Uncle Bob.
Stop it.
It's entirely possible that I'm Uncle Bob.
This is in like the show of The Confessions of Dave. You learned earlier that you got ripped off on a scam to buy king crab legs over the social media app.
They look so delicious.
And now we learned that you're the Uncle Bob of Thanksgiving dinner.
Okay, I'm the Uncle Bob in general, in the sense that I love to ask people what they think. I guess that can't be totally surprising. This is the job that I have, but I love to ask people what they think. Hey, what do you think about this? What's going on with that? And when the family is together, even better, there's more people to talk about. And we have never had a meltdown, though. We've never had like a knockdown, drag out. We've had a few tense moments, though.
Clinical psychologist at BYU, Dr. Tom Golightly. What do you think of Dave being the Uncle Bob of Thanksgiving dinner, where he walks in immediately, like tries to drag people into a conversation so that he can eventually scorch the earth?
Well, one, super not surprised. Part two, I love my Uncle Bob, and he might even be listening right now. That guy's the best, universally loved. Shout out to all the good Uncle Bobs out there. But, if there were a fight between you and Dave, I'm just saying, Deb's got that dog in her. You better be careful, man.
That's it. But here's the thing is, you know what I'm talking about. Like, there's going to be couples and families driving over to the in-laws' house or the outlaws' house, however you want to look at it. And they're just going to be either cruising to pick a fight, or they're going to be on edge because they know the minute they walk through the door, they're going to be the ones confronted about how they voted for fill in the blank.
Yes, and there are those people that may have an agenda as they walk through the door, which kind of, it hurts my heart. I love this holiday. It's just one of my favorite, built around gathering and food and sport, and it just touches my heart. But there are some individuals that might come in and say, I want to stir the pot. And it might be good if you're hosting, or even if you're attending and you've just been in a group chat or whatever about it, set the table for discussion just as you'd set the table for food. And just, mention, hey, here are some conversations that we might want to avoid, and set a little boundary around it. And that can really, really help to do a little bit of work beforehand and set the table, and just maybe even put out, if there is a propensity to escalate during those dinners, is to say, hey, let's decide not to do that this year. And all of us make the commitment that whatever topic's brought up, we're not going to let it get out of hand, and we're just going to enjoy and reconnect together.
What is the best way to handle somebody that is just super passive aggressive? That maybe not out and out just attack you. How do you handle that?
Get a stomach ache and leave the room. That's what I used to do. Like, all of a sudden I felt the stomach ache coming on, so I'd leave the room just to kind of calm things down, and then I'd return after 5 or 6, 7 minutes or whatever. But that was how I handled it. I just avoided it.
I'm a bit of a competitive person, and sometimes I use sarcasm. That doesn't exactly work real well if I kind of say, hey, tell me more about what you mean, Dave. I really, really want to know. That's probably not going to be the best way to go about that. But I think having a little bit of curiosity, like, tell me why. Let me listen, and it's not to be defensive or not to prove a point or not to get into a power struggle with that person. But the big thing is, a lot of times people just want to be heard, and even if you don't want to agree, you don't have to make it a debate. So deciding not to respond and be respectful, especially, at holiday gatherings, maybe alcohol is involved. And once that starts going, it's okay, well, everyone's ration kind of decreases. Make that decision to just be curious and like, okay, I'll hear and I'll listen, and we can all sit with that, but not to contend or not to debate.
So this I'm going to spring on you, and this came to mind when you were talking about how you handle things, because I know sometimes I'll use sarcasm. It's just a defense mechanism, I try to be funny, but it Doesn't always fly. A lot of times, even on our line of work, people aren't in love with the media. There's a lot of reasons to pick on lawyers, and so if Uncle Bob is a lawyer, or maybe Uncle Bob is a campaign manager for the losing candidate for whatever office, sometimes it's our professions that we've dedicated our lives to that get brought up and bashed at some of these gatherings. And it doesn't always have to be a family gathering, but Thanksgiving, it's happened, in the past to me, and it's uncomfortable. I'm not sure how the right way, what the right way is to come back from that, because you're kind of held captive in a room with a bunch of people who suddenly start ganging up on it.
Yeah, I've worked with some pretty high-profile teams in the past, and I relate to what you're saying here, Deb. And sometimes you'll walk into church or somewhere where you want to be, and you feel like you're doing a press conference, right?
Yeah,
it's like, well, tell me, and that can be really tough. And I think with family, we have a little bit more leeway to kind of say, hey, I'm here to connect, and I want to connect, and I haven't seen you for a while.
I love
Let's
that.
catch back up,
Yes.
And that's my goal in coming today. It's not to talk about work or replay work or do those things.
Yeah.
This is my holiday too. So I think kind of setting that boundary and being able to kind of say what you want, as opposed to dodging bullets that you don't want all day, can be really helpful.
Love it. Thank you.
Tom Golightly, the voice of reason. We appreciate you joining us. You're great. Have a happy Thanksgiving. What are you in charge of today or tomorrow?
I'm in charge of nothing, and that's probably a good choice from the whole family for me to be in charge of nothing. But I'll be watching the Cowboys like I do every year. That's kind of my main task.
With Dave. Yeah. What does it say?
I'll put you on the group text.
What does it say about me when my family keeps putting me in charge of roles? I mean, I want to know what it means, what the meaning of being
psychoanalyze
in
that one.
Thanks, Dr. Tom. It means
You're welcome.
they don't
Happy
trust me with the
Thanksgiving.
turkey. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, and for good reason. I cooked a turkey raw one year.
Did you? Okay.
I cooked a turkey raw.
Finally, a confession. A confession from Debbie.
I cooked it, and it came out raw.
I don't know how that works.
It was the oven's fault. Okay, what I love about that is it's almost like a moment where you can sort of turn the conversation into something positive. Like, oh my goodness, I worked so hard this week. I don't really want to talk about work. How's your job going? How's your family going? Or I saw this post on Facebook. Looks like your kid's doing really, really great, and maybe flipping the conversation into something more positive as opposed to being, berated for what you do for a living.
There's definitely.
Do you ever have that? Do you ever have
for
people?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times people will say, oh, you know what? You probably hate talking about this stuff. I'm like, no, I love talking about this stuff. But I did talk about it for 42 hours last week. So maybe not like right now. I would love to eat some stuffing.